That's no moon.
Clear Bay 327. We are opening the magnetic field.
Hello there, and welcome to Docking Bay 327. Today, we're going to be talking about the Millennium Falcon pads that go around the archway here that I've created, and the columns that I have built and installed on both sides of the wall and connected them to the beam that already existed to give it the feel of the archway or corridor, if you will, in the Millennium Falcon. So let's get started. For this build, I found inspiration in the same interior picture of the Millennium Falcon that I've used before, but this time I focused on the actual corridor and the pads that go around it. I already have a couple of beams in my office, and I decided I wanted to extend one of them down each side of the wall and make it a more circular shape to try and match the image. So once again, I fired up Illustrator and worked out the design based on the exact dimensions of this part of the room. As you can see here, I measured out the cutouts on both columns, knowing that I would be adding some exposed piping on both sides as well. Except for the top right side of the right column, where I wanted to build an electronic panel that would eventually connect to the panel on my Falcon wall design. I also used the drawing to figure out just how many pads I would actually need, as well as how much material I would need to purchase. I decided to go with 2-inch insulation foam board so the pads could actually wrap around the column on each side. So I got to work building out a frame, cutting out the half circles for the top and bottom of both columns with my router and circle guide. For the shell, I used the chalkboard MDF you can buy at Lowe's or Home Depot for fairly cheap. They come in 4x2 sheets and are thinner, so they won't make the final columns too heavy. I then began putting together sections of the PVC piping into interesting groupings and placed them inside the columns. Finally, I began laying out some industrial-looking greeblies for my panel in the top right of the right column. I painted everything and put each column together. I used 1/8 inch masonite board for the interior faces so they could bend to the curve and complete the circular design. Oh, and of course I added lighting to the base of each one. I ended up running lights through the whole thing, but you'll see that in a moment. Next, it was on to creating the pads. So many pads, and the number of steps for each one was insane. As I've mentioned before, I wasn't filming yet, so I will quickly walk you through the process. I cut each pad out using my late father's table saw. Then I purchased a dado stack and notched out each one repeatedly until they were the correct size to wrap around the columns. Next, I used my router table and rounded over every corner of all 18 pads. I went through and added a few gouges on each pad using my Dremel for a more worn look. Like the other pads I've already made, I used the Mod Podge and paper towel technique. I then painted them all with Rust-Oleum Smoky Beige, dirted them up, and attached them to the completed archway. And here is the result. So there you go, a Millennium Falcon corridor or archway with the pads, the columns, lots of greeblies, some cool piping. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, please give me a thumbs up. If you want to continue to follow me on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, please subscribe and hit that bell so you'll be alerted when I push out new content. I would give you a better angle of the full archway, but I can't because there is something just outside of the camera angle here that I just finished that's pretty cool. And I want to save that for another video, which I'm working on now. So stay tuned for that. And until then, build with what you know and figure out the rest. So there you go. A Millennium Falcon corridor with pads and columns and greeblies. Oh my.